In this video, I'm going to share my top 10 favorite story-driven games where your choices really matter. These aren't games that just make it seem like your decisions affect the outcome. They genuinely consider how you play your characters and adjust the story based on your actions. This makes every major decision feel very important because, at any moment, you could change the game's world or alter the main story in a big way. Let's dive into the first game on this list. As Dusk Falls. As Dusk Falls is all about choice. After all, the main thing you do in a game is make decisions that heavily impact how every scene plays out. Even choices that seem small sometimes end up being really important. So, you get plenty of influence over the main storyline. The tale revolves around two families who meet on one fateful day in 1998. The first half of the adventure shows what happened on that day. The second half is set many years later and shows how the events impacted those involved. It is a really well-done interactive story game. The decisions you make along the way really feel impactful, and there are many possible outcomes. You really grow to care for the main characters you play with, and even some of the side ones. The graphics are a combination of beautifully static drawn characters with 3D environments. And the fact that you can play it again together with up to 7 other friends, either locally or online, makes for an even greater experience. Heavy Rain. Heavy Rain is an interactive narrative adventure that revolves around a serial killer called the Origami Killer, who is known for murdering their victims by drowning them in rainwater and leaving a piece of origami at the scene. You play as a few different protagonists committed to figuring out the identity of the killer and putting an end to his crimes. Their level of success depends on you. Your choices and button-pressing skills impact how each protagonist's story plays out. As a result, there are several different endings you can get. The game is really well done, and I love the characters in it, even the bad guy. The game made me really think, what would you do if you had to make the same choices? I really recommend this game if you love a good storyline and a murder mystery. This game is really unique. The story is touching, characters are likable, graphics are okay. Well, this is a 15-year-old game, so we can't say much about it, but game and voice acting is top-notch. I will not spoil this game for you, but I'm just going to say it has 17 endings, which is mind-blowing.
I suppose I like to play the guardian angel.
Wolf Among Us. The Wolf Among Us was the first ever Telltale game I played, but oh boy was it a treat. The game's pacing, writing, atmosphere, and general mythos are all top-notch. All of the characters are interesting, and it's honestly fun figuring out and identifying what folklore the character originates from. If you like mysteries, violent noir fiction, detectives, and their atmosphere, this game is for you. It does not have much to offer in terms of gameplay, being rather simple point and click detective in the core, but the visual design of this game is so beautiful. I have to say, this game has the best comic-style cell shading application I've seen in games so far. Music so soothing and alluring, characters and story so captivating that you will find yourself on a cliffhanger at the end of the first episode in no time, hungry for continuation. It is a mature story that takes place in a noir setting. The Wolf Among Us is a gritty take on various fairy tale characters that have somehow escaped into our world and secretly living among us. You assume the role of Bigby Wolf, the big bad wolf. The first episode of the story has you involved in solving a murder mystery that has the appearance of leading to something much bigger.
I'm looking at a 3-foot toad in a sweater. That's a problem.
The Walking Dead Telltale. Telltale's The Walking Dead is more of a collection of games than a single one. This is because there are 4 seasons of this narrative adventure experience, along with a couple of spin-offs. The main seasons focus on young Clementine, who finds herself amid a zombie apocalypse. Her primary goal is simply to survive. To accomplish that, you need to make a litany of difficult decisions that impact her and the people around her. They don't all have a significant effect, but the biggest ones usually do, though it feels more like an interactive story than an actual game. Just like The Wolf Among Us, it still got me from the first minute. There is not much gameplay in it. You walk here and there and talk to other people, and every now and then you need to make choices. For most of them, there is a short time limit. There are a lot likable and not so likable characters, and I loved every part of this game. Some people may argue that your choices don't actually matter, and I'd say they are not wrong, but they are not right either. The choices you make in the game may not have an impact on the end itself, but it will have an impact on how the story gets told to you. Will you become a respectable man, or will you be in pain in the arse throughout the entire game? The choice is yours.
I saw a lot in the forest, but that was a while ago.
Yeah, one we're looking for is still in the neighborhood.
Beyond Two Souls is a must-play. Even now in 2024, 11 years after the first release, it's still up there with what modern story interactive driven games have to offer us. What's special about it is the game's ability to keep you glued to the screen from start to end. A truly original story that for the most part is unpredictable and combines elements of suspense, drama, emotion, and action, often all at the same time. Some of the best and most fitting voice acting that syncs well with the scenes and cutscenes in the game, all tied together with a great soundtrack. This game is simply amazing. One of the best games I've ever played. Great portrayal of the main character and what she had to go through. The story is suspenseful, and the player is very curious about what will happen next. Very exciting game. Many possible endings, beautiful and touching music. Not all choices are obvious, and you have to be careful not to miss something important or to prevent someone from dying.
gotta distract the guard first.
Hitman 3. Hitman, while not particularly thought of as a choice-based game, Hitman 3 is entirely dictated by how you decide to play. On every level, there are several ways to take down your targets, and some are very different from one another. For instance, in the Dartmoor mission, you can conduct an entire murder investigation, including talking to suspects and finding clues, and it's all completely optional. Plus, you're required to make a big choice at the end of the game. Will you kill a character or choose a kinder fate for him? That's one big clue to look out for when it comes to the conclusion. There's even a secret ending to unlock, making for a total of 3. Granted, you are still killing targets, but the maps throw in some cool moments like the murder mystery, or the 10 targets you have to find on your own without any help from Diana. Life is Strange. Life is Strange is an episodic adventure game. It's slightly similar to games of the Telltale series. Your choices affect the outcome of the game and make subtle and huge changes throughout. You feel empathy for the characters in the world, and whilst handling mature themes such as depression, the game grips you to your seat. It is amazing. A masterpiece. The writers are on par with some of the best TV shows and films out there. It makes you question every choice you make. As a player, you actually feel like you affect the relationships between the characters. The music and art design are unique and aesthetically pleasing, which is a nice change from the usual games I play. The voice acting's brilliant. Without spoiling anything, the twists in this game are just wow. Finally, I must end saying how much I recommend this game. I've experienced nothing like it before. Please try this game. You won't regret it. The soundtrack is gorgeous. There are emotional and touching scenes with some surprisingly heavy topics.
Or something like that. Okay, girl, you don't get a photo op like this every day.
The Quarry. Summer camp is the perfect setting for a horror story. The one in the Quarry contains several teenage counselors that serve as the playable protagonists. You control them all at different points in the tale, and there is little time to actually manage the camp, as there is something unnerving going on at the place. So, instead of running an enjoyable camp, your objective is to stay alive. This isn't exactly easy, as many of your choices in this interactive narrative adventure can lead to deaths. And I honestly think this game is awesome. The story is awesome, and the choices really do change how the game turns out. It actually makes you think before you make your choices, and it makes you want to play it through again. I would definitely recommend this to anyone looking for a cool single-player game. Oh, and one of the coolest things they have added is the couch co-op option. You also can do online co-op. Detroit Become Human. Detroit Become Human is perhaps one of the most intense games that deals with player morality and choices. There are 3 separate stories in this adventure that eventually intertwine. The game is set in a future where androids have become a commonplace feature in day-to-day life. Players control 3 different androids. The overall premise is based on the idea that androids might be a thing one day, and if so, what are their rights? Should they be treated as humans? Is it possible they can feel like humans? If you have a heart at all, this game will make you cry multiple times thanks to some great social dilemmas and beautifully detailed characters. The game picked up many awards for its story, which delves into what it means to be human, asking the ever-burning question of whether or not machines can feel emotions, in a similar vein to Nier Automata. Players will be forced to make several choices that will lead to the answers to these questions and start the uprising for androids to be freed from their master shackles.
Serious malfunctions have been detected in your software, including Class 4 errors. You've been deemed defective and will be sent back to CyberLife for deactivation.
Don't you fucking move. You bastard.
Until Dawn was released in August 2015 exclusively for the PlayStation 4, and the exciting news is that it's soon coming to PC. The game follows a group of young adults as they face terror and danger in a remote mountain cabin, where every corner holds a potential threat. For fans of decision-based games, Until Dawn is a superb choice. The fate of each playable character, whether they live or die, hinges on the decisions you make throughout the game. While the gameplay may have its flaws, Until Dawn stands out as a top choice for those seeking a genuine decision-driven adventure. The story is relatively short but packed with almost limitless possibilities. As you play through the chapters, controlling each character, your goal is to keep as many of them alive as possible. However, Until Dawn challenges players with tough choices, where even small dialogue options can lead to significant consequences later. The game excels in demonstrating the butterfly effect, how small actions can lead to large outcomes, and it captures this concept with intense and engaging storytelling.